as an American, I've studied Native American cultures, and to see that sense of coexistence, that respect for the habitat, and that back then, this intuition of this interconnected causality and the oneness, or whatever spiritual symbology people like to use. The nervous system, I think, has proven itself to show very clear characteristics of distortion over the course of the past 200 years since industrialization and all the pollution and materialism and so on, which is why you have so much depression and anxiety, which is why people have all sorts of illnesses that they've never had before. There was just recently a study that an 80-year-old person in this one indigenous tribe, I believe it was in Latin America, they had better hearts than the average 50-year-old American, partially because of their diet, as they said, but also because of the stress. So I guess my point is that we will continue to react to the distortions of this system until we start to listen to what's actually happening. So if there is a natural wisdom, I'm not quite sure, but I know that the physiology will tell you if things are going well or not. And right now you have a very sick, emotionally sick culture. You have a physically, generally sick culture. We can argue lifespans and stuff like that, but there's many lifespans are being extended by medicine, applied medicine, not necessarily smart development of the human being. You know what I mean? So people are just sicker longer. I don't know. I don't know if there's a spiritual center in the human being that somehow is an innate knowledge that we can meditate and touch into. I don't know if I believe that. I don't have enough evidence to show, but I do know that the nervous system and our brains have certain evolutionary wirings that expect certain things, and if they don't happen, or if bad things happen that shouldn't happen, then we are going to become deformed. And if we pay attention to public health and epidemiology, then that path will continually become clear. And that's why inequality, which has been that long-standing myth for so long, this idea that we have to have hierarchy economically, that is a myth. It makes us sick, it makes us angry and distorted. It makes us spiritually bankrupt. Martin Luther King had a phrase, the poverty of the spirit, and it's this materialistic phenomenon that we have become so detached. We're sending spaceships to the moon, but we can't even figure out how to feed people here. We can't even learn how to coexist. And I think that falls into that category as well, this general mental illness that we call normality.
Well, people have a name for things. If they see a child draw pretty pictures right away, they think the child is gifted. Because that means I haven't the slightest idea how a 6-year-old can draw a profile of a human being that looks so accurate. That's what they're saying when they say he's gifted. I have no idea of how that occurs. When a fish migrates thousands of miles to the spawning grounds, without mother fish opening up a map of the world, showing the fish how to get to the spawning grounds, they invented a word for that, instinct. It means I haven't the slightest idea of how these fish do that. Instinct is a dead word. Noise tells us nothing. But a word that says, I'm going to try to find out how it is that fish can do that. So they study the magnetic currents under the Gulf Stream, which the fish follow. Once you begin to know that birds can follow Earth's magnetic currents, because if you strap a small magnet to a bird's head, he doesn't migrate, becomes confused. So it was called years ago a mechanistic point of view, and people hated that word. Mechanistic? I'm not a machine. I'm flesh and blood. I'm a thinking, feeling. They love that, and they moved away from the mechanistic point of view, which hurt society no end. It's a mechanistic point of view. All that it says is, look, you can't roll your eyes to the right unless there's a muscle and the nerve cells that feed that muscle. You can't twist your arm unless muscles run in that direction. That's all that a mechanistic point of view stated, that nothing occurs. The mechanist also stated this, that nothing is self-activating. That's the most difficult thing for people to grasp. Trying to simplify that, a sailboat cannot sail, it is moved by the wind. A plant cannot grow, all that's nonsense, still exists today. A plant requires warmth, temperature, moisture, gravity. All of those things are, although you don't see the connection, they're all connected. That living beings do not acquire knowledge or information through ethereal means. They acquire it by banging their head against a wall, slipping on ice, then they design anti-slip systems. First you have to slip on the ice. No government, to my knowledge, ever anticipated the future. So this is the direction we're headed in. Let's prepare for social change. No, they try to keep things as they are.